going to actually go back and talk about our top 10 TV shows and movies of 2024. We obviously released our list. They're public. We put them out, but we're just going to spend a few minutes just kind of talking about these things, and sort of talk a little bit more in depth about, a couple of movies that we saw that we haven't gotten a chance to talk about as well that did make it on our list. We're going to run through both TV and movies here, just to give everybody sort of an idea as to why we pick certain things, why they made it on our best of lists. Obviously, these are the best to us. This is all subjective. These are our opinions, and I think it kind of goes without saying that that's the case. So just remember that. I know people are like, well, why did you add this in? And I'm like, well, it's likely I either didn't see it or it just didn't make my list. That's kind of what it is.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things too. Like, I know I didn't see everything I wanted to see. I know you didn't see everything you wanted to
Right.
see. Like, there's just always things missing that we just can't get to.
Yeah.
There's just never enough time. So there's definitely going to be some glaring omissions and some things that I would have probably added in if we had a little bit more time. But be that as it may, we're just going to run through these. Before we dive in and talk about the list, I just want to ask you, what was your process? Like, how did you put the list together? Like, was it challenging for you? Did you have a methodology? Was there any sort of creative input or thought as to how you determined how you set up your list, and what were some of the differences and similarities between the TV and the movie side of things?
Yeah, TV show wise, what I do is I have a list of shows that I've watched for the year. And I go through and I star the ones that's like, ooh, I really, really like this. I really, really like this. And I keep narrowing it down until I figure out which I think which shows I'm like, okay, I have a 10. Now, after I do that, now it's time to order them. And I think the ordering part can sometimes be easy and sometimes be really hard. It's always like I go down the list and I'm like, ooh, do I like the thing at the number 3 spot better than I like the thing at the number 2 spot? If the answer is yes, I have to move it up, and vice versa. I have to move things down. So I keep workshopping the list until that thing happens. I think the only hard thing for me in my TV show list is I watch a ton of anime. Like, I also watch a lot of anime in the year, and I don't always write it down like I should, certain other TV shows. But I kind of remembered this year, and I kind of remember it's like, okay, I know I like these certain animated television shows. How do I incorporate them? I think that's also what makes it hard. How do I feel about this completely other genre of television versus this very live action real thing?
That's
How do I
hard.
compare those two? It's the hardest thing to me. Like, and even the list we came out with, I was like, dang, does that really belong there? I don't know how I feel. But it ends up how it ends up, and it places where it places. Like, and what's funny is, we say this all the time, but we can look at our list and be like, dang, you know what? I would have changed these 2 things around. And after the list is already out, you know what I'm saying? It's like, I probably would have changed that thing. But I think the 10 stays pretty solidly the 10. And I think that's the main thing I try to focus on. And the order kind of comes later. But yeah, man, that's kind of my process.
Yeah, I'll just start and say that the TV list compared to the movie list for me is always so much more difficult, because
I agree.
in my process, when I'm putting together the movie list, which is difficult in and of itself, on its own respects. But what I do, I watch or rewatch almost everything that makes it on my long list. Like, I'm making sure that I've seen things at least a couple of times. Like, that's just a part of my process, just to make sure, like, okay, I know how I felt the first time. Do those feelings still remain? And based on those rewatches, things change and they morph. And it's like, oh yeah, I thought I liked it more, but it doesn't really stand up as well as I thought it would compared to this other thing that I've seen. So it's easier for the movies because you can access those and quickly rewatch those. It's a couple of hours, but I'm not rewatching 10 television shows that I've already watched for the year. Like, that's just not happening. So I'm purely working off of memory with TV. So that makes it harder, so I really have to think about, how did it make me feel? Was it week to week or was it a binge? That factors into it. I had somebody, when I put out, these lists, somebody reached out to me. They were like, how do you know all this information about yourself? Well, I was like, well, I manually keep track of everything. Like, we have Letterboxd for TV, or for movies, excuse me. We don't have anything for TV. I track everything manually already, movies and TV. Like, outside of Letterboxd, I just keep track of everything, just to know exactly what I watch, how much of it I watch, when I watched it, all of that stuff. So it's easy to just, like, remember, like, okay, this all came out this year. But again, that process of rewatching TV, that's just not a thing, because I'm not taking that type of time. Sometimes what I will do is maybe pick an episode if there is time. Like, I've done that previously. Like, I'll pick maybe a finale or like the best episode and just kind of like watch a couple of compared. I've done that, but I don't do that as often. With movies, I'm definitely rewatching stuff just to make sure I feel feel very sure
Yeah.
about my picks. And I start with
Mhm.
a really long list, like 50 plus things, and then I whittle it down 25 and then 10, for like the real elite stuff. But it's a process for sure. I usually work on my stuff for at least like 3 weeks. Like I'm
Yeah,
starting very
same.
early in December. Like I'm really starting to like
Mhm.
buckle down and get it together and think about it. And then of course there's always like those curveballs, like you fit stuff in like at the last moment. It's like, oh damn, that's really good. I got
Bruh.
I got to find somewhere
It's
to put
like,
it in now.
yeah,
if
and then you
thro-
gotta be like, "What gets kicked out?"
exactly throws off everything. It's
Oh, man.
it's always, but I think what you said is it's 100% true. Like this is as of the date that we put it out. Like the feelings always change with these things,
Mhm.
unless it's like the tippy top. I'm usually very sure about that, but a lot of these things change, and I look back on it. It's like I might have moved that, or I might have changed that order, but it is what it is.
Mhm.
That's the fun of it. That's the I think the creative aspect of these lists and what we put out. But we're gonna start off with TV here. I think we can just kind of quickly run through these. Maybe we just go back and forth, real quick and just share quick
Okay.
thoughts, like why they added, why they made it on our top 10 list.
Yeah,
um,
yeah, yeah.
do you want to start, or you want me to just kick it off?
I can. What bottom? Wanna go from the bottom?
Yeah, from the bottom to the top. So we'll start at number 10.
Yeah, my number 10 spot was English Teacher, a show I actually didn't get to talk about on the podcast, but just a really good solid comedy that has it's literally a comedy about a gay English teacher, and he's like going through all of these antics as he's trying to teach his students. He's always in some relationship problem, or his kids are always trying to tell him something about the environment that he's in or that his kids are in, and what's funny is the kids are definitely Gen Z. So they're like, they'll tell him when something he's not doing something right or something doesn't look good, or I don't know. Just a really interesting, funny show that we don't get a ton of like really good comedies like this. It's both culturally in tune and funny at the same time and a quick watch. I was just really happy to see that it existed. So English Teacher was my 10th spot.
Yeah, English teachers garnered a lot of praise in this last quarter. It's a good show. The comedy is like really sharp, like a lot of funny stuff in there. I liked what I saw at English teacher. So I know a lot of people included this on their top tens. My number 10 was Fallout. We talked a lot about it, earlier this
Yeah,
year. An incredible adaptation. Just a really, really great show across the board. And I think had one of my favorite finales of the year. Like that last
it was
episode
so
was
good. That last episode was
incredible.
nuts.
It was
Yeah,
so good. And it just
yeah.
got me super excited. As somebody who's not really played the games, it just made me
Hmm.
even more excited. And I actually got like a couple of the games now. I was like, I think I'm gonna dive in and try to like play some
Hmm.
Fallout games. Just a really great show, a great showing from Prime Video. Had me give a lot of faith to them in terms of like what they're going to do with some of their future projects as well, because we know they got God of War coming up soon on Prime Video.
Mm,
So I was very excited for the show and what it was able to do.
yeah.
I'll move to my number 9 right now,
Okay.
which is on both of our lists. X-Men 97. I mean, we did a weekly review for this. I mean, what more to say? What I will say, had no idea it was going to be that good. Like I just
Oh my god.
did not know X-Men 97 was going to be as amazing as it was. Just an incredible show. Some really, really great episodes. The Remember It episode with Gambit, phenomenal. Like
Mm, mm, mm,
just so many moments. And I was fortunate enough to get a chance to go visit the X Mansion earlier this year.
mm, mhm, mhm.
Which one of the best things I've literally done in my entire life. It's no exaggeration. It's like, what did we do here? How have we not been doing this the whole time? Like, how have we not
Yeah.
been taking these beloved things, this nostalgia driven stuff, and creating these experiences? It was just an extension of the show, but yeah, the show was just phenomenal output from Marvel Studios for sure.
It really was, man. And Tolerance and Extinction, that 3-part finale, it was just so much comic booky stuff happening. I ain't gonna. We'll talk about it later at some point, but I'm sad about X Men '97. Ain't gonna lie, because I know season 2 is not gonna be whatever we just
Oh
watched. Like we
man.
just got lightning in the bottle, and I hope we appreciate it. And that's part of the reason I had to put it so high, because in my mind, it's a limited series. Like I just have to treat it as a
Damn
limited
near.
series and be like, that's not coming back, y'all. Like we got that one-off thing. It was fire. It looked good. The story was good. It was very X Men. It was comic book. We're never getting that again. So I was like, I had to put it a little higher. But yeah, bro, just what a fantastic TV show. And yeah. And Fallout was funny. Fallout was like 11th spot. But I was like, dang, I don't think I have any comedies. So I had to like
Mm-hmm.
move it up a spot for Fallout. My number 9 spot, I do 9 and 8 then, especially since we both my 8 spot, we have the same. My number 9 spot is Nobody Wants This. A show I talked about that is on Netflix, a romance comedy that starring Kristen Bell and Adam Brody. That's just it was just different. I don't know. I really like rom coms and movies, of course, and I feel like I just hadn't watched a lot of rom com television shows recently. I've been kind of in the nitty gritty and the real dark and deep stuff, and it was kind of more lighthearted than I thought it would be, and I just enjoyed the ride. I'm a big Kristen Bell fan. They had her and Adam Brody had really good chemistry, really good performances. I talked about it on the podcast, man. It's just a really solid show, and it's so solid they're coming back for season 2, which I can't wait to see what that even is going to be. But yeah, man, I was really happy to watch this show. Yeah, early this year, and
Yeah,
then
I have this
yeah, go ahead.
like coming up soon. I'm definitely going to be watching this show really soon. Based off of just like your review, it was so glowing, and then obviously all the conversations that's happening around it. I'm very excited to dive into it.
Yeah, man. And then number 8 spot, we both have this. Just talked about it a second ago. Ripley, which this is probably only so low because I watched it so recent. If I had sat on it for longer, it's probably be higher in my list. But man, television show, man. You talked about it in depth when you had first watched it. It's just really good television show, of course, adapted from the Mr. Ripley book. Andrew Scott is just going nuts in it. Dakota Fanning's in it. Johnny Flynn's in it. Just a really good show. It's shots. There's so many shots in here that I'm just like, can we talk? Like, can I talk to the cinematographer real quick? I have questions. Like, how did you do this? Like, it's like if Roma was a TV show, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like black and white. How did you shoot this? What is that thing? It's a very beautiful show. Very good performances across the board. It's if you don't know what the story is and you go into it, you're not prepared. You won't be prepared. Just very good television show from Netflix. I was very proud of the product they put out.
It's the most meticulously crafted thing that I've likely seen this year. I mean,
Yeah,
there's just such a level of detail and clarity and so much attention paid to every shot and every frame.
yeah,
It's a true standout. It's my number 3 on my list. It's kind of a moving painting almost every frame, which is just like
yeah.
a testament to
Really
just
though.
like the quality of the show. But as you said, the performances take it to the whole next level. So yeah, very, 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 very glowing stuff. Positive things to say about Ripley for sure. My number 8 was The Sympathizer. Talked a lot about that earlier this year. The series, the limited series from Park Chan Wook. Just an incredible show. I really enjoy watching. Robert Downey Jr. was having the most fun. He played like 25 different characters. It was ridiculous. But the story was super compelling, and it's unlike anything else that I've watched on TV. It's super different, and I haven't seen it on a lot of top 10 lists, and that's okay. Like I like having different
Hmm.
stuff that's just like probably largely unrepresented and not seen by as many people. But
Yeah.
I definitely had to call it out because this is just like a great quality show that has really terrific performances. The only hang up that I have with it is the ending is a little, I guess, somewhat confusing. It's not the most clear
Hmm.
cut ending, but it didn't detract from my overall enjoyment of the show. I thought it was pretty phenomenal.
Yeah, man, that's one of the ones, like you say, we don't get to watch everything. The sympathizers like sitting right there, like, boy, if you don't watch me, I'm gonna get to it. Mr. and Mrs. Smith, what is it, 7 is on my 7th spot, and I just really liked it. I like Donald Glover, I like Maya Erskine, and I liked how different. It's funny, everybody that watched Mr. and Mrs. Smith, the TV show, was like, wow, that was nothing like the movie. I was like, that's the point, everybody. It's different, and so I really enjoyed that different aspect about it. You can tell Hiro Murai, I really like him as a director as well. Anytime him and Donald Glover work together, it's just really fire to me. And so yeah, I can tell what episodes he did. And I'm like, yep, there's Hero Murai right there. And yeah, I don't know. It was just really cool. I think just to I like when people can take stories we know is like flip it, but make it good. Because a lot of times people do that, and it's like, well, what was the point of that? But here is like, no, this is a really different thing that we can sit down, talk about, and discuss. So I really like Mr. and Mrs. Smith for that reason. Shot very well. Action comes out of nowhere. You don't expect it. It's like a quiet show until it's not. I don't know. It's just a really fun show for us to talk about this year. And yeah, I really liked it.
By the way, huge year for Spy TV because
Oh my
Mr. and
god.
Mrs. Smith, my number 7 is Slow Horses.
Yep.
Also made it in my top 25. A very recent entry was Black Doves on
Yep.
Netflix, which I squeezed in at the last moment and loved it.
Hmm.
Spy Television making a huge comeback
Yeah.
this year, like a big year. And these are all good shows. Like Mr. and Mrs. Smith is really good.
Hmm.
Slow Horses, had a ball watching that. Gary Oldman's incredible. Black Doves, love that show. Ben Whishaw and Keira Knightley, they're both phenomenal in that show. It's just
Hmm.
like, wow, we're doing really good stuff. Like in the absence of things like James Bond, we haven't gotten a James Bond movie in a while. It's probably going to be at least a few more years. It's nice to have some good TV show fill in that gap to give us like some good spy television espionage type of stuff
Yeah,
for
for sure.
sure. The next one we have in the same position, number 6, The Penguin. I mean, what else can we say about The Penguin? We talked about
We
every
talked about
episode.
it.
Just
Yeah.
just a great show. One of the best live action superhero shows that we've gotten based on a comic book character. Just a
Yeah.
home run for DC, a home run for HBO and Max, a home run for the Matt Reeves universe. I mean, it's so good that like now people are like, oh, so we're pushing the Batman back another year. Then you need to give us another season of the Penguin if we're going to do
Yeah.
that. And I think it's likely.
I think so.
I think that there will be more Penguin, and I think rightfully so. It was just such a good show. Might as well do a follow up as long as Colin Farrell is willing to sit in a fucking makeup chair for 7 hours and go
Yeah.
through that process. If he's willing to do it, then let's just go ahead and make it happen because I think it's worthwhile to explore more of these characters and more of this world.
Yeah, that's the thing is him talking about him being in the chair so much out of the day. It's like getting Colin back is like, ooh, but it's so far away. You can give Colin a break
Give him a
and
break
still
for
shoot the
sure.
thing.
Yeah.
And like a huge break and still like shoot the thing. The Batman's so dang far away. But also they gotta, I don't know, they got some Batman stuff to figure out in the Penguin too. I don't know how they gonna y'all done showed the bat signal now, so I don't what's what's that mean?
Apparently, that bat signal was from the future. It was from 2027.
That's what it was.
It
That
was
was yeah.
it was not this year because that nigga's not showing up no time soon.
Yeah,
Apparently,
no
so.
time soon. No, you're right. Too funny. My number 5 spot. We both also have this on the list. We rave about this show, and man, sometimes I'm like, dang, more people need to watch. I don't know anybody that's watching this, and again, kind of post Succession, post House of the Dragon. This is the thing to watch to me. Is like, when the hell is Industry coming on? Like, I need to know when this show is coming on. What a fantastic, phenomenal, amazing television show. And we talked about it. I think we reviewed it. But what's so interesting about Industry is it changes every season to something else. It's like, oh, we have a little bit of DNA of this thing, but then we're going to change completely to a different scope or a different feel. And it's just really amazing. Also had probably the best episode of television I've seen all year with what's his name? I don't know why I forget his name.
Oh man, I'm forgetting it too. Rashi,
What's his name?
Rishi. I
Right.
can't remember it. Anyway, that episode was it was phenomenal.
Yeah, it was legit one of the best things I had. Yeah, one of the best episodes of TV I had ever seen, at least especially in 2024. Very happy they made that episode. Amazing show. Just I can't rave about it enough. They did their thing with Industry, man. I can't wait till it comes back.
Yeah, that's at the top of my list. It's just for the reason alone that it's the best season of the 3 so far.
Mm-hmm.
It changed its tune once again. I think the best performances, the best story, the best episode, the best moments on a week to week basis. It had me literally just like ready and waiting and yearning for the next. Like there was no experience like I had with Industry this year. That's why it made the top of my list. It was just like a complete fulfilling experience. Funny enough, I know a few people that watch it that hit me up. Like I had no idea that they watched it, but because like I
Really?
was
Okay.
celebrating it so much this season, like just the moments that was happening on a week to week basis, and I would post about
Mm-hmm.
it. They'd be like, "Oh, it was crazy tonight, wasn't it?" And I was like, "Oh shit, you watch?" Like I didn't know
You watch
anybody
Industry? Okay.
watched it. Yeah, quite a few people actually.
We got to talk about it
It's
more.
picking up
Yeah.
steam. It's one of those slow cookers that I think it
Mm-hmm.
does take a couple of seasons to gain a reputation. I think
Mm-hmm.
next season it's gonna that's when it's gonna really kind of blow because I think people are talking about it in earnest right now just because of the wild, crazy moments that happened this season. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm excited to see like what it continues to do over the next few years. Say Nothing is the next show, or excuse me, actually no, I'm skipping one. Baby Reindeer. Baby Reindeer is on my list. I know it's on your list too. It's
Yeah.
your number 2 spot. We talked all about it. Baby Reindeer comes out of nowhere. Richard Gadd and his story, just heartbreaking, just a heartbreaking fucking story that just you just don't see coming. You don't know what to expect from episode to episode, but it was definitely one of those things where it's like you're locked in for that binge if
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna get through all those episodes. Something that I did not have on my radar. My brother told me about it. He was like, "You have to watch
Mm-hmm.
this tonight," and I was like, "Okay, I'll do that." And I did it, and it was like, "Oh shit, yeah, you're right. I do not regret that." And then I'll just quickly talk about Say Nothing as well. This is a show that I fit in towards the end of the year. Phenomenal show, actually based on real events that happened in Ireland in the 80s. And it's one of those dramas that really low key. Not a lot of people have seen it. It came on FX and Hulu, but it's also an adaptation of a book that came out in 2018 that's
Mm.
detailing different generations of Irish people during the Troubles, which is like a really significant event that happened during the
Mm-hmm.
80s. This has been documented on film and in different TV
Yeah.
shows and things in the past, but I don't think quite to this degree. This is a tough watch. It's not easy at all. There's a particular episode about midway through following the 2 main characters that's just like heart wrenching, but it was it was really extraordinary television. The ending is the one thing that I'm like, I don't know how I feel about that. It wasn't necessarily the greatest ending, but it does keep you just really, really enthralled and just like really wrapped up in just the craziness of the situation and just some of the political corruption, some of the terrible violence that was happening to people during that particular time. It was a really, really phenomenal watch. Limited series on FX and Hulu. Again, if you have the stomach for that type of stuff, if you can deal with, violence towards, I would say violence towards women in certain respects, like it's one of
Hmm.
those things that I would definitely encourage people to watch. But another incredible show that I was glad that I tapped into.
Yeah, this is what also Say Nothing is one of those ones where like FX always has a good job of like, here's this really good looking picture. Watch this show. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. They're really good at like having ads like that. I remember seeing her like mouth cover with her like finger on her mouth. I was like, huh, what is this show? So I haven't watched it yet, but I was like, this looks. I'm sure this show was probably pretty good, just given what they're giving off of that picture there. My fifth spot, X-Men 97. Already talked about it. My third spot is Don Don. Oh my god. Don 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 Don. So, this is an anime. Shoot, there's been a manga that's been in the making for I think since like 2021. It's been coming out, and when they had announced that an anime was coming, what they did first was come out with Don Don, the first encounter. And that was a movie. Well, you go see it in theaters, and it's the first 3 episodes. But before you watch those first 3 episodes, you get a look at like what the mangaka was doing, the creator, how they felt, how some of the voice actors, what they had going on. And fun fact, one of my friends, AJ Beckles, plays the main character in the English language version of the show, which is really cool. But man, this show here is crazy. It takes what you know about anime and kind of flips it on its head. It's a really hard TV show to explain unless you watch it. The very simple premise is there's a friend who believes in aliens and a friend that believes in ghosts, and they tell each other neither one is real, and then they both find out that both things are real, and it goes from there. It's kind of crazy. Again, you've never seen anything like it. There's sci-fi in it, there's action in it, it's just everything under the sun. It's like I really think it breaks the genre a little bit. It's just so many different things happening, and what's funny is I've seen people recently be like, oh, Da 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 is an industry plant show. No, it's just unlike anything you've ever seen. That's the only reason I think you feel that way. It's
What does that
that
mean?
different.
Industry plant show. What does that even mean?
They were saying like because because they know what people like now, and so they put it all in the show. Like
Oh,
like the
okay.
opening credit is fire,
Yeah.
and like these things about this character is really good, and this thing about like, and I can see why they would say that, but at the same time, like, nah, because it's too old. Like,
Yeah.
it started people. It's really hard to argue that with manga because people wrote this. You know what I'm saying? They were like drawing things, and like, I don't know. It's just a really hard thing, I think, to argue. But I can see why they would say that. Fire anime. If you haven't watched it, it's on Netflix. And while I'm here, Sakamoto Days comes out next week. It's going to be like Don Don. It's going to break a lot of things. Just watch Don Don. Watch Sakamoto Days.
Amazing stuff, man. Definitely have to have the great anime representation here. And I mean, just to round out my list. Ripley 3, Shogun 2, Industry 1, talked about them all. I
Yep.
mean, just 3 favorite shows of the year. I've said enough about them and our individual reviews. If I still talk to people that have not watched Shogun yet,
Do it.
because it is mostly in Japanese, and that can be challenging. I get it, especially 10
Yeah.
episodes. If you didn't watch it week to week, now you have to binge it.
True.
It's a heavy show. It's very dramatic. It can be slow moving and methodical at times. I totally get it, but
Hmm.
I don't think people will be disappointed if you tap into Shogun. It's a really it's a I think it's probably one of the most important television shows of the 21st century at this point, just based on
Yeah.
projections and like the expectations behind it and what FX and Hulu put behind it. Like, this is one of those things, like they bet the house. Like, they gave it the biggest budget possible. They stayed true to the source material and the story, and they didn't compromise on anything, and it paid off. Like, we're gonna get more seasons of this because of it. So definitely got to just call out quickly Shogun on top of Ripley being my number 3 and Industry being number 1. Anything else you want to say about the top 2 picks you had here, Baby Reindeer and Shogun?
Nah, man. Not much. Just yeah, watch Baby Reindeer and watch Shogun. Two very important, I think, TV shows. Very different for a lot of things I think we've seen throughout the year, man. And Shogun clearly cleaned up for a reason. Shout out to Hiroyuki Sanada and Anna Sawai again. They just killed it, man. So very happy to have those as my top 2.
Any honorable mentions you want to just quickly highlight? Maybe like two or three shows that almost made it, but just didn't quite crack that top 10 that you just want to call out.
Yeah, Arcane season 2, man, what a you know how I feel about Arcane. Arcane's one of those ones. It was like people know how I feel about that show. I'm not going to include it. People know how much I love Arcane, the League of Legends world. Vince Staples show came out and kind of killed it. Shout out to the Vince Staples show. And I already talked about Fallout. Cross. I don't think have I talked about Cross on the podcast? Yeah, I
A
think I
little
have.
bit, yeah, yeah.
A little bit. Cross was really good. Aldous Hodge is such a big fan of his. And they made that show so black, which I appreciate. And we've been seeing more of that recently, where just there people are able. Before it was like sometimes just have a black show and then do anything else you want to do with it, but now it's like no, these black shows are really good right now, and so I'm glad to see a lot of the meat and potatoes being stirred in a lot of these shows. I actually have a lot that I need to watch and catch up on that I'm hearing really good things about. But Cross is another one of those. And then probably last but not least, another anime, Kaiju number 8. If you haven't watched it, just go watch it. It's that good. If you like anything with Kaiju, Godzilla, it's like Godzilla plus, I don't even know what the hell else to call the other part of it. I don't know, some kind of military. It's like Alien plus Godzilla put together. Fantastic. Just go watch it. Really good anime.
Got it. Other quick ones I'll just call out. Black Dust, I talked about that earlier. Incredible spy show on Netflix. Some phenomenal action, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like Keira Knightley does most of her stunts. A lot of hand-to-hand combat, close quarter stuff. Just a really, really great watch. I think
Ooh.
only 6 or 7 episodes. It might be 6 episodes, so it's a pretty quick watch. Definitely would encourage people to tap into that if you like spy and espionage stuff. Lioness. I have jumped on the Lioness
Ooh.
train. And this is what I'll say. First of all, 2 seasons out. Season 1 came out in 2023. Season 2 is the one that, ultimately is what made it on my top 25. Season 1 is better than season 2. Season 2 is not as
Okay.
good, but that's because just you can tell, like many of these shows these days, they have like split the story of season 2 into 2 seasons. Like it's not done. Season 1, you could tell it was all sort of completed. If they canceled the show for whatever reason, it would have just like been over. It would have been a complete story, but now they know that they're going to get more seasons. But it's still really good. It's some of the best live action that you're going to see on television. Everything is practical and done really well. All the military stuff that they do. Zoe Saldana, incredible. This also just casually has like an incredible cast. Like Morgan Freeman's in it.
Right.
Nicole Kidman, she's in like her 7th TV show of the year. She's everywhere. But just really entertaining stuff. And in addition to that, I want to call out Landman. I really hopped on the Taylor Sheridan train this year. Landman is what I'll say about Landman. I wouldn't call it a conventionally good show.
Okay.
There are some terrible scenes of dialogue in this show, like some things that are said. It's like nobody. Maybe people do talk like this. Let me not say that because there's probably some people that do talk like this, and I just don't know it. I'm just not of that culture. But it is just so entertaining. Like it is so. Billy Bob Thornton is throwing 100 miles an hour in this show. He is hilarious. He's fantastic. It's the best, and I've seen him in quite a while. I just enjoy watching it. I wouldn't quite call it a quote unquote good show, but that's okay. It's one of those shows that I'm like, no, I'm just ready to watch it. I'm just ready to tap in. Like Landman is just like super entertaining. So I really, and people have hit me up, that saw my list and they're like, oh yeah, I'm really into this. So Taylor Sheridan, I don't know how he does it. He has a similar methodology as we see with like Tyler Perry. He's writing like, I don't know, 40 or 50 hours of television every year. I just don't, because he also has Tulsa King. He has Mayor of Kingstown,
right?
Yellowstone. He's fueling everything for fucking Paramount. It's ridiculous. I just don't.
The Tyler Perry of Cowboys.
I just don't understand it. Middle America, that is his. Yeah. That is his domain. He owns it. So yeah, I just want to call out those two. And also I'll just quickly, point out, I reviewed it earlier this year, Three Body Problem.
Oh yeah.
Wildly uneven, but I really enjoyed it for whatever reason. It was just like, it was a ride. It was a ride and I enjoyed the show. I think they got one more season to wrap up things, because I don't know if, they really got the viewership that they wanted to continue on past that, but they will have like another season to sort of wrap up the story. So just want to call that one out as well. So definitely an interesting year for TV. I don't know if I would call it great. It was okay. We've had better years for sure, but an interesting year for television.